Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. This will be my first what if, the birth of a new shinobi god. Since chapter 1 is short, I'll be giving you chapter 1, chapter 2, and chapter 3. Please sit back, relax, and enjoy. Chapter 1, The Meeting. It was 7 p.m. in a certain village on October 10th, and all you could hear throughout the village is "Die, you demon brat." As you can see, a mob of people chasing a 3-year-old boy down the street with improvised weapons. The young boy saying, "What have I ever done to you?" Then a pink-haired woman said, as she caught up to him, "You know what you did. You killed my father, my sister, and my husband 3 years ago." As she raised a brick she had in her hand and started to beat the young boy in the head, the young boy then blacked out and woke up in a place that looked like a tunnel, with about an inch of water on the floor. Then he heard a young girl crying and an older male and female voice trying to comfort him. As he spoke up saying, "Is anybody there?" At that moment he heard the older male and female voice say yes, and walked toward voices Naruto. He decided to do just that, and it took him a few minutes and he saw a man and woman in their mid-20s kneeling down next to a young girl about the same age as himself. But the young girl had a strange appearance. She had 9 tails. The man said, "Come over here, Naruto." He raised an eyebrow and walked over to the man and said, "How do you know my name? And why is everything in here black and white?" "Well, except for the color that's coming out of your bellies." He then pointed to the man and said, "You in her has blue light," and points at the girl and says, "She has a bright white light." Chapter 2, The Truth. The man sighed and said, "Well, this is going to be a long story," as he looked to the woman and then to the young boy. Then said, "First I should tell you that me and this lovely woman here are your parents. My name is Minato Namikaze Uchiha, and this is Kushina Uzumaki Senju, and the reason why everything looks black and white to you might be because of your heritage. Why don't you look down at your reflection in the water?" When he did, he saw that he had blood-red eyes and a black mark in both of his eyes, and then started to freak out saying, "What happened to my eyes?" Minato said, "That is your dojutsu, the Sharingan. You got that from me and your grandfather. Although I am sad and happy at the same time because now you'll be able to protect yourself, but that also means that you had to be in a life and death experience to activate them." Minato closed his eyes and asked Naruto, "Do you know how to use chakra to deactivate your eyes?" And Naruto shook his head no. Minato said, "Okay, look at me and I'll show you how to." Minato activated his Sharingan and Naruto saw how the chakra was going into his eyes. Then Minato deactivated his eyes and said, "Did you see how I did that?" Naruto said yes, then he did as he saw and deactivated his eyes. As his sight returned to normal, he saw the man called Minato looked just like him, but the woman called Kushina had beautiful red hair, and he said, "Your hair is beautiful, Mom, right?" Kushina said, "Yes, I am your mom, and thank you for saying that you think my hair is beautiful." Then he looked at the girl who was still crying and said, "Who is this?" Kushina said, "This is the Kyuubi, and it seems when your father sealed her in you, she was reborn and now is female." Naruto walked up to the girl and asked her, "Why are you crying?" As she finally looked up with tears falling down her face and said, "I am sorry. I am so sorry. I am the reason why all the people in this village hate you." Naruto said, "What do you mean? And what is your name?" At this, Minato and Kushina just deadpanned and thought to themselves, "Wait, what? Damn it! Does this mean that Kyuubi has a name? And why did we not ever think to ask?" The young girl said, "Well, I was being controlled to attack the village after I was pulled out of my previous container." And she pointed to Kushina and said, "My name is Kurama, and thanks for asking. You are the first human to ask me what my name is since my father gave it to me." Minato walked up to Naruto and said, "I am sorry for what I have done." Naruto said, "It's okay, but why did you choose me?" Minato said, "Well, I couldn't ask someone else if I wasn't willing to do it to my own son, and I know that you will be able to control this power." Naruto said, "Not control, but I will befriend Kurama," as he walked up to the cage and picked up Kurama and gave her a kiss on the forehead and said, "I forgive you and I don't blame you for being controlled by someone." She looked at him with a small blush and said, "Thank you." Naruto walked over to Minato and asked him if he could open the cage. I don't think she'll go wild, and I want to make this place look big. Minato said yes as he placed his hand on Naruto's seal and unlocked it. And this is your mindscape, so just think of what you want it to look like and it will change into that. Naruto then thought of a green grassy plain with trees and 2 houses. Kushina walked up to Naruto and said, "This place is beautiful, but why 2 houses?" Naruto looked up at Kushina and smiled. "I'm sure you and Dad will want some privacy, so I made 2 houses, one for you and him, and one for me and Kurama when I'm here." Kushina smiled and said thank you with a blush on her face. Minato walked over to Naruto and said, "Thank you, but since your Sharingan has been activated, that means you have access to your chakra. And I want to see what your natures are, so me and your mom can start teaching you." Naruto asked Minato, "How do we do that?" And Minato pulled out a piece of paper and said, "Pull your chakra into it like this." The paper split, with one side burning and the other balling up. Minato said, "See, it says I have wind by the paper splitting, fire by the paper burning, and lightning by the paper balling up. And your mother has earth and water, and not your grandfather's wood style. So here, just pull your chakra into it." When Naruto did, it split into 7 pieces. One got soggy, one turned to dust, one balled up, one turned to lava, one burnt, and one to a metal sheet. And the last one ended a piece of paper. Both Minato and Kushina jaws dropped to the floor. Naruto said, "Is there something wrong?" Both Minato and Kushina shook their heads no. He said, "It's amazing. It seems you have 4 KK Genkais, one that they never seen before. You have, of course, your Sharingan as a dojutsu, not to mention wood style, lava style." Then Kurama walks up and says, "Wow, looks like you have my father's KK Genkais." Both Minato and Kushina looked at Kurama and said, "Who is this father you keep speaking of, and what are his 2 KK Genkais?" Kurama said, "My father is Hagoromo Otsutsuki, or as you may know him, the Sage of 6 Paths." And then the 2 KK Genkais, it is, as she points at the metal sheet, it says, "That is metal release," and then to Naruto's eyes. Right now he has the Sharingan, but because he has both Uchiha and Senju blood, it will eventually turn into the Rinnegan. Both Minato and Kushina deadpanned and asked why. Then Kurama sighed and said, "Well, Hagoromo had 2 kids, Indra and Ashura. They each made their own respective clans. Indra made the Uchiha clan and Ashura the Senju, and eventually the Uzumaki. So when you put them back together, you get the Rinnegan. Well, eventually. But it has to be a Uchiha from the main bloodline, not the half-blood. Like, mainly it has to be from Mado's son or his brother. So in this case, Naruto. As Kurama was talking, Naruto noted that Kurama had a snow-white tails, ears, and hair. And Naruto said, "I am confused. I thought Kurama had orange fur." Then they all looked at him, and then Kushina and Minato turned to look at Kurama and said, "Yeah, you did have orange features when you were within me." Kurama smiled and said, "Well, when I was in your grandmother, I had red features and orange within you, and now when I'm within Naruto, I have white. And every time I get reborn, my features change based on my container's purity and nature." Minato and Kushina just nodded in agreement and then walked over to Naruto, and Minato said, "It's almost time for you to wake up. But before you go, activate your Sharingan." Naruto did and asked why, and Minato said, "I want you to copy this jutsu, and then go to the first office after doing it. But me and your mother will put our chakra in it so that we will show up besides 2 copies of you." Then Minato showed Naruto how to use the right amount of chakra to make just 2 clones. Chapter 3, The True Lineage. When Naruto finally wakes up, it is already morning and he is lying in a garbage pile. Then he did as his father said and made 2 shadow clones with Minato and Kushina pouring the chakra into them. Then Minato and Kushina did a hinge jutsu to Anbu. Kushina picks up Naruto and puts a seal on his head. Then the 3 starts to walk towards the Hokage's tower. When they get there, they walked up to the reception desk and told the woman that they needed to talk to the third. After that, she let them in. When the third saw that there was two Anbus and one was carrying Naruto, and that this Anbu had a fox mask and red hair, he surged out in a panic, unhappy, and said, "Fox, what are you doing here? I thought you was dead." Kushina then said, "I am. But me and Minato are shadow clones that poured our chakra into these from within the seal. But that is beyond the point. We have a few things to talk about." And then told Hiruzen to get rid of the Anbu in the room. When he did, Minato went up to a bookshelf and stabbed the Anbu that was hidden there. When he did, the Anbu fell and he saw a white mask with a kanji for Rudolph. Then Kushina put up a silent and concealment seal. After that, Kushina and Minato dropped the hinge and Hiruzen's jaw dropped. But not for long, because the two started to yell at him because of how the son was being treated in the village. After about 2 hours of yelling, Kushina finally undid the sleeping seal on Naruto, and he woke up. They started to tell Hiruzen about the true lineage of Minato and Naruto. Flashback. There, lying on the battlefield that would soon be called the Valley of the End, was a man with long, black, spiky hair and a red plated armor, with a young woman in her mid-20s with long blonde hair standing over his still body. She looked down to the man and checked his pulse, then realized he is still alive. She picked him up and dragged him to a small cabin and laid him on the bed and started to nurse him back to health. 2 days later, the man slowly started to stir and opened his eyes. When he did, he saw the young woman sitting in a chair sleeping with a wet towel in her hand. The man slowly stood up and walked towards the woman with a kunai in his hand. Then she slowly started to wake up and said, "You sure are ungrateful, trying to kill the one that saved you." He then looked at her with a raised eyebrow and said, "You're either brave or ignorant to speak to me like that." She then says, "Why would you say that, and who are you? I guess you're a shinobi by your garb and your choice of weapons." He started to laugh and said, "Yes and no. I used to be a shinobi, but not just any shinobi. I was the greatest. I was the co-founder of the Leaf Village, Madara Uchiha," he said with pride in both his name and his fame. The woman just looked at him and said, "Good for you, I guess." Then Madara said, "I think I'm starting to like you. It's not every day that you see a strong woman like yourself. You're strong like me too." She was the only other woman that would speak to me like that. 6 years later. There you see a man and woman watching a blond boy trying to walk on water casting a very certain fire juice, with the man letting out a small laugh at the joke his lovely wife just made. And when he saw the boy perfectly walking on the water while letting out a good sized fireball, Madara then said, "Minato, come over here." Then the young 5-year-old boy runs over and says, "Yes, father." And the man says, "That's my son. You are a true Uchiha now." 3 months later, Madara was walking back from a nearby town as he heard faint sound of battle coming from the direction of his house. And what he saw made him mad. He saw a young blonde Minato fighting off 3 Chunin with a 4th dead, and beside him was Madara's dead wife. He rushed over and saw that his son had a 2-toner Sharingan and tears in his eyes. Madara jumped in front of his son and waved hand signs and said, "Fire style, majestic destroyer flame," and roasted the shinobi alive. He then dug a grave for his wife and took his son. 3 weeks later, outside the gate of Konoha, still a bit far away from the village, Madara said to his son, "Go into the village and tell the Hokage that you are Minato Namikaze, and that you was orphaned because of a shinobi battle, and you need a place to stay. They will give you one, but never lose your Uchiha pride, and tell no one that you are my son." Minato looks at his father and says, "Yes, father, but would I ever see you again?" Madara looked down with a tear in his eye and said, "I really don't know, but if I do, it will probably be as your enemy." 19 years later, you could hear a loud scream and a healthy cry from a baby boy, and a woman saying, "I am so glad you're finally here, my son, Naruto Uzumaki." Then a masked man swirls into place and says, "Step away from the Jinchuriki, or this young one will pay the price." At this, Minato flashes off to save young Naruto. When he did, he saw that his blanket had explosion tags. He then flashes up to the woods, yanks the blanket off, and it explodes within the woods. After that, he flashes towards his house, putting young Naruto in his crib. Then he flashes back to where his wife is, but it's already too late. He there sees a young man with orange features and 9 tails on his back. As he starts to go on a rampage, he then took his wife and laid her next to his son as he went to fight the 9-tailed fox. As soon as he got there, he saw that the 9-tailed fox was under a genjutsu and was starting to build a big black chakra ball. Before the beast could release it, he teleported it away, and then he saw the masked man. And then he said, "Lord Third, can you handle the Kyuubi for a little bit longer? I need to deal with him." Hiruzen then nodded, and Minato teleported away to in front of the masked man, and then asked, "Who are you, and why did you extract the tailed beast from within my wife?" The masked man then said, "Well, to answer the first question, my name is Madara Uchiha. To answer the second question, it's because I hate both this village and you, Lord Fourth." The Minato said, "No, you are not Madara Uchiha, although I do recognize your chakra, but it is not the chakra of Madara." At this, Minato teleports behind the man with the Rasengan in hand and slams it into his back. As the masked man yelled out in pain, saying, "You may have won this time, but I will win the next time, Lord Fourth." The Minato teleports to the 9 tails as he was near a kunai that he had thrown to the ground previously. Then he teleports himself and the chibi to an altar which had a flying Raijin marker on it. Then he created 4 shadow clones, and they said 4 flames formation as Minato was leaving, and a few seconds later he was back with Kushina and Naruto, placing Naruto on the altar. He then asked Kushina to use the chakra change on the Kyuubi. Kyuubi said, "That won't be necessary, and I'm sorry for what the bastard made me do. But Kushina, you cannot be my host again, and you are too low in chakra, and the seal will not hold. And you need the rest of your chakra for what I'm about to suggest. And Minato, I see that you don't have enough chakra to normally seal me." And Minato said, "Yes, I know. So you're using that." Minato said, "Yes. So will you help our son grow up?" The Kyuubi said, "Yes, but you can live only the seal if Kushina uses that seal with your remaining chakra." And they all agree, and the Kyuubi lets himself get sealed while the barrier drops, and they all tell Hiruzen that he is to take care of their son, Naruto Uzumaki, and if he doesn't, they will rise from the grave and come kick his ass back down to hell. And Minato says that Naruto is to be praised as the hero's elite. And at this point, Kushina finished her seal, and all of her and Minato's chakra went into the seal. And a flashback. At the end of Minato's story, Hiruzen's jaw hit the floor, and then his body turned to Kushina. "Hiruzen," Kushina said, "don't you remember what the last thing we told you?" Then Hiruzen thinks back. "Take care of my son, or we will rise from our grave and kick your ass back into hell." Oh shit, if all Hiruzen can get out before he felt a drop kick from Minato, and the old Kage blacked out for about 5 minutes. When he finally woke up, he said, okay, I deserve that, but please no more. They both said, "Okay, that's it for this time, but next time it will be twice as harsh. We wish we could stick around, but we can't. We have to go back into the seal. But we can train our son in there, and by the way, you might want to check his natures." Then they both snickered. Hiruzen raised an eyebrow and said, okay. He took out a piece of chakra paper, and Naruto took it. It split into 7 pieces. 1 balled up, 1 burnt, 1 got soggy, 1 crumbled to earth, and 1 turned to lava, 1 turned to metal, the other a piece of wood. The old Hokage's jaw hit the floor. So he has lightning, fire, earth, wind, and 3 Kekkei Genkais as wood, lava, And I don't know what the last one is. As he lifted a piece of metal, the Hokage shouted, "This is a brand new bloodline." Kushina interrupted, not exactly, and said that Kurama said that the Sage of Six Paths used it and was the first and last before Naruto. The reason asked, "Kurama, who's that?" Naruto spoke up and said, "That's the Chibi's name, that the father gave her, the Sage of Six Paths," Naruto concluded. "Oh, okay, the Chibi's name. Wait, what? The Chibi has a name? And female?" Kushina said yes, well, this time she's female. Minato spoke up and said, "Me and Kushina will teach him seals, then I will teach him normal ninjutsu and taijutsu. And Kushina will teach him chakra chains and kenjutsu. And I will teach him what I can about the Sharingan since I have an internal Mangekyo Sharingan, and how to use all the abilities of the Sharingan, including the Susanoo, the Tsukiyami, and the Amaterasu. As for his own personal power, I don't know what it will be." Hiruzen said, "Well, we'll keep the Sharingan and the multi-time a secret for now. But we should tell the council about the lava and metal release, so that we can get him into as the next head of the clan, and get him moved to the Uzumaki compound, and try to get him two personal Anbu and some caretakers." Minato spoke up and said, "Well, I recommend Kakashi at least." Hiruzen said, "That's okay. But for the other one, I recommend Tensei. He can help him out with the multi-time." Minato thought, "Oh yeah, that's right. That sounds good. And how about the caretakers?" Kushina said, "How about his grandmother, Hitome Hyuga? She doesn't have to be there all the time, and maybe even Mikoto Uchiha. We was always good friends." Hiruzen said, "That would be fine if they agree with it." Then Kushina dropped the seals, and as she did that, Minato and her adopted their hinges. And Hiruzen said, "Horse." The Anbu with a horse mask came down and said, "Yes." He said, "Get dog, boar, Hitome, and Mikoto, and call a council meeting." The Anbu said, "Hi, Hokage-sama." 10 minutes later, 4 people walked in, and they saw 2 Anbu with a dragon mask and one with a fox mask with long red hair. They both said, "Dog, boar, it's good to see you." And dog said, "Fox, yeah, it's good to see you. It's been a long time." And Mikoto and Hitome ran up to her and hugged her with tears in their eyes. Dragon said, "Dog, boar, it's been a while," as he made a small Rasengan, and dog and boar walked up to him and said, "Yes, it's good to see you." So how? Kushina and Minato both said, "We're shadow clones from within Naruto's seal. But we have to go back into the seal in a little while, so we need to ask Mikoto and Hitome if you could take turns to watch over Naruto at the Uzumaki compound. And Dog and Boar will be his personal Anbu and help him with training, especially you, Boar. He has back as well. And Mikoto, if you don't mind, maybe you can help him out with his eye. But tell nobody about him." Mikoto said, "Yeah, sure, but how does it happen?" Before she finished, Minato activates his, "I'm actually a chair of the Pure Line." Mikoto says, "Pure Line, what's that?" "Well, I'll tell you later. It's almost time for the council meeting. They will all be told about 2 of Naruto's bloodlines, but not your style or his Sharingan. That will be a double S-rank secret. Understood?" They all said, "Of course." Hitome said, "Is it okay if I bring my twins when I come over to watch them?" Both Minato and Kushina said, "Of course." 5 minutes later in the council room, Naruto, Dragon, and Fox was in the front of the council room. The lead council was separated into 2 groups. The shinobi side, which was composed of the clan heads of the wave being the Mizaka, the Aburame, the Yamanaka, the Nora, the Akamichi, and the Hyuga clan. And the Tavern Council, which was composed of some of the most prominent merchants. Then there was the Hokage and his personal council, which was Danzo Shimura, Homura Mikado, and Kaku Utane. Shikaku Nora spoke up and said, "Lord Third, if I may ask, why have we been assembled, and why is Naruto here?" Hiruzen cleared his voice and said, "Yes, Shikaku, there is 2 reasons why. It came to my attention that a group of civilians has tried to kill Naruto by bashing his head in with bricks and other weapons. And also it came to my attention that he has, As far as we know, 2 KK Genkais, both never being in Konoha, and one of them has been lost for centuries. One of the civilian councils with pink hair spoke up with a shriek and said, "For one, do you have any proof? I see no damage on the demon." She then was cut off when you saw a red flash on the shoulders. Hiruzen said, "Fox, I understand how you feel. Stand down for now. I don't want blood in the council room. And Mabuki, you know calling him a demon is forbidden. Do it again, and I will not stop her from killing you and your family except for your daughter." The pink benches sank into her seat, and that goes for anybody else as well. And he is not a Kyuubi, he just contingent. "You damn fools," said the dragon. Most of the shinobi side really didn't mind Naruto. Besides, he was only a 3-year-old child. Then Inoichi spoke up and said, "If you may, Lord Third, could you tell us about these KK Genkais?" Then the third started to speak up when Naruto walked up and channeled chakra through both of his hands. A small amount of lava dropped out of his right and a small metal knife out of his left. Of course the knife was dull. The whole shinobi side just gasped as they saw that Naruto had lava relics and when they didn't know. This is where Tsutsumi spoke up and asked the young boy and said, "Little pup, can you bring me that knife you just used?" When Naruto gave it to her, she realized that this was some of the purest chakra metal. Then Shikaku said, "He has metal relics." Then all the shinobi's jaws hit the floor with amazement. Most of the civilian council was cowering in fear that they had tried to kill a child with 2 very good KK Genkais. Hiruzen spoke up and said, "All in favor for allowing young Naruto here to restart Uzumaki clan and move into his clan compound." All the shinobi side raised their hands, and all but 2 of the civilian council did as well. Hiruzen said, "Good, it is decided, and finally I will be appointing 2 Anbus and 2 caretakers to him. You 4 can now come in." In walked a Anbu with a dog mask, a Anbu with a boar mask, Mikoto Uchiha, and Hitomi Hyuga. The Hokage looked at the 2 women and asked, "Do you agree to look after him?" Then they both agreed. "Fine. When he reaches tuning, he will properly take a seat." Then one of the civilian council spoke up and said, "Then he will have to join the CRA." The reason said, "Maybe, but we'll talk about that at a later time. This meeting is now dismissed." A few minutes later, you can see a group of 6 adults and 1 young boy walk down the street. And a black-haired woman spoke up and said, "Fox, Tommy, do you mind if I'm the one to look after Naruto tonight?" Fox says that's fine. And as soon as we reach the compound and soon after, me and Dragon will disperse. And Tommy said, "That'll be fine. I can come tomorrow morning with Hinata and Hinabi and take care of them after that. Then we can work out a schedule on when we can look after them." Fox said that's fine. It'll probably take a few weeks for me and Dragon's chakra to replenish so that we can come back out of the seals. Then we will tell you what we meant about pure line. Uchiha Mikoto, is that fine? Mikoto nodded her head and said, "Mind if I bring Itachi? He will probably be help with training Naruto's eyes when Dragon's not around." Both Dragon and Fox thought and said, "That should be fine, but you can't tell anybody, especially forgotten." Mikoto agreed and then told them about the impending coup and said she would do her best to stop it. All of them nodded their heads. And then Fox hugged her and said, "Don't get yourself killed. Both your son and Naruto will need you." Mikoto nodded and said, "I'll do my best." Well guys, that's it for part 1 of Naruto, the new god of Shinobi. Thank you for listening, and I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please leave a like and maybe a subscription. And if you didn't like it, please leave a comment. Every little bit helps to help me make better videos next week. So, until then, the Forbidden, signing off. See ya.